What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. The news just broke that Davante Adams is now a Los Angeles Ram. He's going to be paired up with Puka Nacua, one of the best duos at wide receiver in the entire NFL. Sean McVay led the recruitment process. But before we jump into all the details surrounding Davante and everything else that has broken over the past couple of weeks, first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I was doing back and shoulders at the gym when the news dropped, so I wasn't really looking at my phone. But I got the text from Dad, which is cool. If you get like a text as opposed to like the notification from ESPN, and I like leaned over to the guy next to me, and I'm like, "We got Davante Adams," and he was like, "I'm a Chargers fan, man," and I'm in like my Rams hat, and I was like, "You get nothing. All right, get out of here, idiot." But I just had to tell somebody. I was so excited. It's so cool.
It's pretty interesting, too, because from the Chargers' perspective, they were probably expecting to land DK Metcalf. And then seconds later, the news breaks that he goes and signs a $150 million contract with the Steelers. But this, yeah, who knows? They don't even have a quarterback in place. Another 10-win season for DK Metcalf. But this news literally just broke a couple of minutes ago. So Rams are signing wide receiver Davante Adams. It's a 2-year deal, $46 million with $26 million guaranteed via rap sheet. So this is the first glance of the jersey swap, what you're going to get with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Davante Adams, the new big three in Los Angeles. I know nobody loves that word. I know it scares some people, but these are the new three faces of the offense. And you know what's pretty strange about this offseason approach so far? We talked about it all offseason. We talked about it the season prior. The money that is allocated to the offense specifically continues to be on a meteoric rise. They gave money to Alaric Jackson. They gave money to Tutu Atwell. Alaric Jackson signed a 3-year, $57 million deal that includes $35 million guaranteed. So Matthew Stafford's blind side is protected. Tutu Atwell, I think, was the surprising news a couple of days ago, agreed on a 1-year, $10 million fully guaranteed contract. But this wide receiver room is really now starting to round itself out. You got, obviously, Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell, and you know what's probably going to happen with Cooper Kupp is he's no longer going to be a Los Angeles Ram.
Yeah, McVay was quoted by saying, "I never deal in absolutes." Like, there's like he's probably not like, maybe he comes back, maybe we rework something. And then like 2 days go by and he's on like a Barstool podcast. And he's like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. Like, I probably gave some people hope." It's very likely that he's not going to be here. And when you do this, I mean, it's just, you don't have enough money for both of them. I hope they don't cut Kupp, but I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to find a trade partner. I think they're going to have to cut him, and then he'll be able to go where he wants to go in free agency. But that's sad. But at the same time, we thought for a while that this McVay regime, he was going to leave after the pillars left, after Ramsey, Donald, and Kupp were gone. We weren't going to have McVay anymore. And now we're ushering in a whole new line of that. And we have, now Puka and Adams are like going to be these new pillars for this team. And it's just really, really exciting that we can just sit here and go to the playoffs last year, be like a play away from beating the Super Bowl champion, and then have everybody on the offseason making moves and doing things so that next year we have these two. It's going to be so hard to cover both Puka and Davante Adams and Whittington and maybe Demarcus Robinson if he doesn't, get taken away.
I don't know. It seemed like, speaking of talking in absolutes, it seemed like Les Snead was talking about Davante Adams' offseason and how he's, going to be dealing with a lawsuit potentially and, legal ramifications. It doesn't sound like he's going to be back. And I think that the Tutu Atwell contract kind of locked that up. But going back to Cooper Kupp for a second, he's not going to be in the wide receiver room, but you did just bring in a 32-year-old veteran who has incredible get-off. He beats the hell out of man coverage. He's incredible in the red zone. He's going to be able to teach some of these great talents and just this incredible wide receiver skill set that he's been able to develop year over year from Green Bay to Las Vegas to New York to Puka Nacua. So the beneficiary of this whole thing is not only Sean McVay, but it's Puka Nacua, who gets to learn under two of the best veteran receivers in football. But I think Cooper Kupp, in terms of his roster bonus that's coming up on March 12th, they're probably going to release him in the next 3 days is the reality of the situation. It's definitely unfortunate, but you replaced Cooper Kupp, and I don't want to say it's a one-to-one replacement because Davante Adams isn't a stereotypical slot receiver, but he did take 52% of snaps out of the slot last season in effort to get him the ball more frequently. He's a guy, when you talk about the wide receiver room and you play positionless football from a wide receiver group, like they always go in 11 personnel. They play with an F, a Z, and an X receiver. And these guys are going to be all over the place. Like they're all interchangeable in this regard. So you're going to be able to see Davante Adams in the slot. You'll see Jordan Whittington rotate in that position. Puka will man the X. You'll get some versatility out of Tutu in the X, who's going to probably play a ton more snaps at that position specifically, and you'll probably draft somebody else to help, kind of round out the snaps in totality. It's just going to be a lot of fun to see what this offense is able to do. But again, going back to my original point, talking about all the money that's allocated to the offense, the defense is still going to be a focal point in the next couple of days.
I wonder if they were in at all on Myles Garrett, if that was a potential place where money could have been allocated for this offseason. And then he ends up getting his bag for 1 year in Cleveland, and they're like, okay, well, now we have the money. We trust our young core. Let's just do more offensive talent. I mean, obviously McVay is going to be, let's just get more help on the offense, because last year, I mean, really what it felt like was, we said all off season, our identity is this young defensive team, and we pushed all this money in for the offense, and it's like we barely have anything to show for it. So now, with Davante Adams, who is aging, you have Stafford, who's also aging. They're like, yeah, with this young defensive core, before we have to pay them all this money, we're going to push our chips in on offense again. And we're going to try to win right now because we have a quarterback that is designed to do that. And it's just so fun to be a Rams fan when they're just constantly being able to just turn over with a whole new regime and bring in somebody like Davante Adams and completely change and rework their offense under McVay, because we know it's going to happen all over again. And the fact that Davante Adams was apparently in Donkey Kong Land in Japan, I don't know if that's true, but he was definitely in Japan.
Well, it's per Peter Schrager, so he's plugged into the Rams. So Davante is currently in Japan. Apparently, Sean McVay led the recruitment, keeping in touch on off hours, which, the time difference in Japan versus Los Angeles, Nick, you can probably speak to this better than I could, but it has to be at least 8 hours or even more than that. So Snead and Pastors put the finishing touches on the contract with agent Frank Bauer. Davante Adams, since 2021, he has 5,276 receiving yards, which is fifth amongst all receivers. He has 41 receiving touchdowns and 411 receptions. You're not just bringing in a guy. Like, this is one of the best receivers in the last decade to grace the football field. Since 2020, Davante Adams ranks top 3 in targets, receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, receiving first downs, and defensive pass interference is drawn. Like, this is a guy, I talked about his get off at the line of scrimmage, the way he's able to beat man coverage, the way he's able to run routes, the crispness inside and out of his cuts. He's incredible. The things he's going to be able to teach Puka Nacua to further develop his game is just going to be fascinating, just to make him a better player on the opposite side of the ball. So they're going to be really fun to see, how they're going to piece together this offense. And like I mentioned, play positionless, play interchangeably. But again, this is one of the most talented receivers that you could possibly bring in. And you talked about Myles Garrett for a second. The only thing that shakes me a little bit funky, like just in terms of age and contract and those type of things, is when we weren't able to sign Von Miller to that massive contract, the Rams allocated that additional money to a guy named Allen Robinson. But completely different players. You're talking about a guy who could play a little bit in the slot, could play a little bit outside, could catch jump balls, but it seemed like he was cooked at that point in his career, and it was just a mistake to try and keep together and run it back in terms of, like, the Rams just won in 2021. Let's try to do it in 22 with guys like Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. I just think this is different. I think this guy is such a better player than anything you could have gotten out of an Allen Robinson or even a Cooper Kupp at age 31.
It's a great day to be Davante Adams. You're going with a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Linking these two up is going to be so fun. It's also going to be funny when him and Jimmy G see each other if we end up re-signing Jimmy G because of that receiver Netflix show. Like, he was just like, dude, get me out of here. Like, I cannot be wasting my career in Las Vegas. I came here to play with Derek Carr, and now I'm stuck under Jimmy G. And then, he like forces the hand there to go play with somebody that has done him so well in Rodgers. And then Rodgers is total eggs and horrible last season. And now he's like going to be playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league, has been one of the best in the last 5 seasons when he's on the field and not injured. And yeah, it's just great to be freaking the Pat McAfee picture with Stafford as over Rodgers is hilarious. It's just it's gonna be really fun. It's a great day to be Davante Adams. It's a bad day to be Whittington. So I apologize for him because I all the Whittington stock this fantasy offseason. I was going to pitch it to everybody, but now I mean, maybe buy it super late, and but it's not going to be the same.
No, I thought Jordan Whittington was going to be a really good replacement for Cooper Kupp in the slot. Just in terms of age, you got him on a rookie deal. If you're not going to go invest heavily at the wide receiver position, then you at least have a guy that's in-house that was a former 6th-round pick that played well in special teams, played well when Cooper Kupp was out. But now all of that stuff is out the window.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about Jordan Whittington getting limited snaps potentially in the slot. While Davante owns that, he's probably going to be interchangeable with Tutu Atwell on the outside. He could be interchangeable with Puka Nacua at the Z. I mean, this is how Sean McVay envisions building his offense, with too many weapons. And it's a way to reward Matthew Stafford in terms of taking a little bit of a pay cut to stay in Los Angeles. We're going to reward you with more assets. And now what I want to see the Rams do is try to invest again at tight end. Obviously, the Colby Parkinson experiment didn't really work out that well in terms of a versatile pass catcher, somebody that could extend plays and break tackles in the open field. He wasn't that kind of guy. Tyler Higbee is more so that kind of guy, but he's starting to get up there in age. Who knows how long he's going to last in this offense
as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could look at this. It's a tight end heavy draft, especially at the top. So maybe you invest and trade up for a tight end. But then, besides tight end,
next year's picking it.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at tight end. You could look at maybe you look at another game breaking running back, somebody that's a home run hitter.
That's what I was about to say. Yep.
To kind of cap off the offense and really kind of build it out to Sean McVay's advantage and to, capture this 2-year window of Matthew Stafford. But then maybe when you look at the defense, you might only need a linebacker and a nose tackle. You're really just a couple of things away from having one of the better rosters in football. And I think that's how Les Snead, Tony Pastors, and Sean McVay have envisioned building this out.
Yeah, I like to speak on top of the Colby Parkinson thing. We also didn't really see what we wanted to see from Corum last year. Especially there were games when Kyron was, not up to par, and we were hoping that him and Corum would together be this 1-2 punch, and that just never came to fruition. It was it always had to be the Kyron show, and this takes a little bit off of his shoulders too. But you're going to need to establish that run game up front. So yeah, tight end and running back are my 2 big, let's try to hit something with that. The inexpensive young guy, bring somebody in, let's have them make an impact right away. And then, sky's the limit really on offense after that.
Yeah. And I remember this past offseason, we talked about extending Matthew Stafford's career via the offensive line and the amount of investment that they allocated towards the interior offensive line. This is a way to extend the livelihoods of your tackles. Bring in another tight end that could play in line, that could play outside, but specifically dominate in line to be an additional blocker. Another way to preserve Matthew Stafford is via the running game, right? So you talk about a tight end, a home run hitting running back, and a Davante Adams. I mean, this is exactly why Matthew Stafford took a pay cut. It's exactly why he stayed in Los Angeles. And like you mentioned, it's a really good time to be a Rams fan because it feels like they're going to go all in again and try and get back to this state.
Possible. I mean, Davante Adams is an all-in player for sure, especially since he's been bopping around all over the place. People really, really believed in him in New York, and they believed that New York could be a place where things could turn around, and it just never, ever, ever, ever is. It never is. The Jets are never that, and it's just great. I mean, It's great for the sport of football. That's how good of a trade it is. It's like we get to see one of the best receivers on a team that will actually be able to utilize him again, which we haven't seen. Like when you're talking about, oh, this is good for football, then you're really at like apex mountain of like, damn, like it is good to be a fan of that team.
And here's the best part too. It wasn't even a trade. It was just this is a free agent.
Right.
Like that's even better because then you don't have to give away any capital or no, there's no draft assets that were included in this. It's just pay him straight up, pay him for 2 years, give him guaranteed money. And we just got a text from one of our buddies that says Davante Adams is washed. I'm just going to show you the 4 games or the 2024 sample size in terms of, I think he played 13 or 14 games between Las Vegas and the Jets. I think he played 3 for Vegas, and then he played another 11 for the Jets. So targets in 2024, 135. So that was 10th amongst 98 receivers who qualified. Receptions, 85. That's 14th amongst receivers who qualified. Receiving yards, 1,063 is 15th. And then receiving touchdowns in 2024, 8 total. So you saw what he was able to do against the Rams in that game, Rams against the Jets. He started to really come on late in the season. Everybody thought he was going to potentially follow Aaron Rodgers, but why would you not want to follow the younger, happier, less polarizing, less confrontational, in better standing with a relationship with his family? Like you're going with the better version of Aaron Rodgers, who's 3 years younger and who more recently won a Super Bowl with the better coach in the better city. It makes so much sense for Davante Adams to make this decision.
Yeah, I had a friend text me. I'm surprised anybody wants to go to LA with the taxes so high there. And I was like, you're an idiot. Like, if you don't understand why somebody would want to come here to California, I'd like live more of a life, man. Like go outside of your box a little bit. That is a ridiculous thing to say. It's like always amazing here. It's so beautiful. It's awesome for him too, that he gets to hopefully end his career with like Matthew Stafford as his quarterback. And I'm so happy he's not following. It's also really funny because he's obviously talking to Rodgers about this. And Rodgers is like, hey, man, I might be going to the Rams if they don't get this Stafford deal. And he's probably like, do that so I can follow you. And then they get Stafford. And then he's texting Rodgers like, hey, man, I'm going to the Rams. Sorry.
I was thinking the same thing. Like that was very clearly the backup plan for the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like they were probably talking to both of them, I would think. Like, hey, Rodgers, you didn't have a really good year last year. Like, the Jets are going to pay your salary. And then they would be able to invest in like a Russell Wilson, Jimmy G as like a backup guy. It's like, if this doesn't work with you, we're going to bring somebody else in. But now you don't have to worry about that at all.
It's pretty interesting you brought up the relationship with Jimmy Garoppolo because the likelihood is that he's going to be re-signed to be the Rams' backup quarterback. But Lester also talked about drafting a quarterback. So, you don't know if you're going to go Matthew Stafford, Stetson Bennett, and then a rookie as your 3 guys. I would assume that Jimmy G is going to be back. But I'm sure that the relationship, once fractured, is now whole again. I mean, who knows what's going to – God forbid Stafford gets hurt and Jimmy G ends up throwing to Davante again.
Jimmy G with, like LaFleur and McVay is different than Jimmy G with Josh McDaniels in the Raiders or whoever the offensive coordinator was over there. The fact that Josh McDaniels is back on the Patriots too, disgusting. Everyone's talking about Mac Jones is going to be so great, and I'm like, not with freaking that guy.
All really good points. Yeah, so the legal tampering period was supposed to start, which legal tampering – how does that work? It's like,
right. Yeah. It's an oxymoron.
So that's supposed to start tomorrow. And then I believe free agency begins the 12th, which is the same day I think that Cooper Kupp's roster bonus is due. So that all kind of makes sense that it's all kind of going hand in hand. So I think more moves to be made. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rams wait until day 2, day 3 of free agency to try and bring in some defensive talent and kind of wait for that first wave to come through and see what other players kind of trickle out.
Listen to Brenda Song. Bring in a inside linebacker.
She said that she wished she played interior offensive line just to be able to protect Matthew Stafford. That is a true Rams fan, all 110 pounds of her.
We got to get her on the show.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. I think that's all we wanted to chat about today. We just wanted to come on quickly, talk about Davante Adams. We're going to talk to you guys again this week. Obviously, there's going to be more to talk about with free agency. And then once free agency clears up, we're going to be talking strictly about the NFL draft and how to prepare for this upcoming season. So if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, be a part of the channel. We apologize for not putting out videos as frequently, but we'll be back more often now. Also, if you want to sprinkle some money on the Rams to win the NFC West, I believe they were plus 275 earlier today with the 49ers at minus 110. So just saying, potentially sprinkle some money there. Also, Rams to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, I think is plus 12,000 in case you want to bet on that. I was looking at that earlier today. So
that's so weird. I was literally in the shower thinking like next Super Bowl, it's probably not going to be Kansas City again. It's probably not going to be the Eagles. And I was like, who's next up? And I felt like us and the Bills. So
did you see the Bryce Harper sized contract that Josh Allen just signed with the Bills?
I did. Every time I hear Bryce Harper, I think of the videos of him drinking raw milk, and then the next day, the report from the Phillies that like he's out for like illness, and it was like food poisoning. It was like, yeah, you're drinking raw milk, Bryce.
Yeah, dude, drink the right standard, 2%. Get some whole milk, make it a normal protein shake.
That's what our cousin Lexi always says. Give milk to the boys. Give them whole milk, big and strong.
I love it. We will we'll talk to you guys soon. I'm glad you guys were able to kind of jump on with us and talk through Davante. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you're thinking. If you think it's going to be disastrous, if you think it's going to be amazing, and this team is going back to the Super Bowl, we'd love to hear from you guys. And in the meantime, as always, go Rams, and we'll talk to you soon.
Davante, I know you're listening. Make sure you check out Harry Potter World and Donkey Kong Land and Super Mario World in Japan. It's great. You're gonna love it.
I heard how to train your Dragon World and the Dark Universe are way superior to all of this other stuff.
Dark Universe is the way to go. Yeah. Animatronics look so cool.
Yeah, let's get the whole squad there. We love you guys. Go Rams.
Go Rams.